This is a great example of don't believe the hype. Welcome back to another episode of Monstars. I'm your host, Z. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And this is episode 3 of Pit Lane. That's just a really creative and cheesy way of me saying I'm going to take you down memory lane to talk about, some of the cars that inspired me over the years. And for those who were around in the time frame that I mentioned, you might remember what was going on in the world at the time, specifically in the U.S. at the time, which caused, automotive manufacturers to make the cars that they made at the time and develop certain ones until this day, and others didn't. And a lot of these cars we fell in love with. A lot of these cars, you don't really see many of them anymore, which goes to further prove this point. And why, anyways, I'll get into that in another video, but these are the kind of experiences that really inspired me to make this channel. I'll just be blunt about it. And the time and places that I mentioned in these videos, if you guys were around during that time, just say what's up. I mean, obviously we probably never met, but say what's up anyway. And if we did, then say what's up anyway so we can catch up. But I digress. If you guys haven't watched episode 1 or 2, go check those out. Episode 1 of Pit Lane is the Silver Bullet SRT4. Episode 2 is the Red Baron Turbo Nissan Sentra SCR Spec V. And let's get into this episode. Now, I don't remember exactly what year this was, but believe it or not, it was somewhere between 2009 and 2011. To narrow it down a bit, there was a commercial for the C6ZR1 that was going around. And during this time, the LS swapped Nissan 240s were all the talk as people started seeing them in Formula Drift. People at my local car meetup could not stop talking about them. I mean, this was back in the glory days of car culture when everything was just fun and no one did anything crazy. Keep in mind, during this time, we had the Catfish Camaros, the Firebirds, the WS6 Trans Am, the 5.7 and the 6.0 Pontiac GTOs, the C5 Corvettes, including the Z06, and some C6 Corvettes were just coming out. We also had the SSR, the Trailblazer SS, and the Silverado SS. So with all these options available, I didn't see the excitement of LS swaps, but I did know the facts. Were the engines cheap at the time? Yes. Is it budget power? That depends on what you mean by budget power. Is it light? Not really compared to the 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, and rotary engines that they replaced. However, I understand why they swapped them out. Simple motors, a bit more power, so the extra weight to most people didn't seem like a big deal. To be clear, I grew up in a family whose roots run deep in the South with Chevy. In fact, my father's Suburban has been in the family longer than I have. But that's a story for another video. Story for another time, just conversation for another time. I just want to make it very clear that I'm not disrespecting the LS platform. I'm not showing bias in any way. I'm just expressing my thought process at that time. And I'll get to my point later on in this video. So there we are on a Friday night, and an LS swapped S14 style 240 shows up on a trailer at a car meet. And now they start the car up and take it off the trailer. And while people started to swarm this thing, I didn't move until they popped the bonnet or the hood for all the American car people out there. Shout out to all my UK car people. You understand what I mean by bonnet? Or just UK people, period. You understand what I mean by bonnet. Anyways, when they popped the hood, I went over there and I only asked 2 questions. Is this an LS1? Yes, they said. The second question, have you done anything to the motor? No, they said. We got the motor, the kit, and swapped out the 4-cylinder. Now keep in mind, Friday night was also when we would go to Little River Dragway in Temple, Texas. Now, this was back when Little River was still a quarter-mile track. I know a few years later an accident happened. They changed it to an 1/8 mile. I don't know if it still is an 1/8 mile or if it's a quarter again. For anybody who knows, let me know. Comment below. I'll do my research as well. But we spent more time on Friday nights at the racetrack than we did at car meets, just to put in perspective. And off we went to the racetrack, to Little River. And as we were on the way out there, I was thinking to myself, if the stock LS1 and the 240 now weighs a little bit more than what it did with the 4-cylinder engine in it, would it be any faster than, a 4th gen Camaro SS or a C5 base Corvette? And that's not exactly a bad thing, because they were quick back in the day. Once, a good driver or a good setup or anything, they were quick for what they were. And another thing I found interesting was that they drove the car to the track, but they showed up to the car meet on a trailer. And from my understanding, these were local guys, so that didn't make sense to me. So when we got to the track, the LS Power 240 lines up with a white, wingless, stink-eye Subaru STI I will call King Boo for all the Mario fans out there, all the Nintendo and Mario Kart fans out there. At this time, people would talk about Subaru's reliability and avoided them like the plague. So naturally, everyone went with the LS Swap 240. Everyone but me. Now, the first run, the LS 240 ran a 12.7 in a quarter mile, which is impressive even today. To put that in perspective, that's like 392 Challenger Charger Scat Pack times stock. So that's quick. And the Subaru, however, ran a 12 seconds flat in a quarter mile. Now, these two would run each other every chance they got that night, but when the 240 ran its quickest time at 12.5, it broke. Meanwhile, the Subaru continued to run 12 flat consistently throughout the night. And people could not wrap their head around what happened that night. They said things like, how's the Subaru faster? It's an LS motor. It should beat it. And LS engines don't break. Now, to be fair, there was a coolant leak, and there may have been a broken synchro in the transmission as well. Even though the motor itself wasn't damaged, the car still had to be put on the trailer and hauled home. Now, there are a few lessons that we can learn from this, one of which is don't believe the hype. Whether it's good or bad, don't believe the hype, and it's better to gain, personal perspective for yourself. When you do that, at least the part 2 of this, which is know the facts. Yes. Know, the general foundation of knowledge, understand what something is, how it works, what the potential limits of it are. And if you're not already a lifelong learner, you will become curious on a lot of things, and you will continue to learn about these things and become a lifelong learner to where not only do you understand the boundaries, but you can push them over time. This will lead to the journey of innovation and creativity. This is why we have aftermarket and so many things, not just cars. That's why we have motorsport and advancement in technology, or even just development in general. You will start to push the boundaries of what was once deemed possible. Now, lastly, this one's very important. If you want to be different, if you want to be unique, be original. LS swaps, in my opinion, started the trend of engine swaps in the States, but making a quick, reliable, daily driven car has never been trendy at all. And please don't take this as a negative thing. I understand, as I mentioned, the facts behind LS motors and LS swaps and the benefit of them, especially if you have a Chevy of any kind or GM body of any kind. It makes sense. Now we're seeing, Coyote swaps, specifically Gen 3 Coyote motors being swapped into things. I completely understand that. They are very impressive. And that's going to be a whole nother video, honestly. So I get why people do swaps. But again, making a reliable, consistent, quick, daily driven vehicle has never been trendy, let alone taking a vessel like a Subaru to do so. A 12-second time in a quarter mile is impressive. And doing it consistently is something else entirely. Now, final notes. To be clear, I don't know the owners of either of these cars, but if any of you or your family and friends are watching this video, know that your cars, both of your cars, and that experience continue to inspire me to this day. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think. Please share your story, share your memories even. Were you even around, Central Texas and Little River Dragway at this time? If so, say what's up. Like, subscribe, and share. If you don't know, now you know, but do what you want to do.